Welcome to Star Trek Lost Stars. My name is Tony Morrow, and thank you for joining us here today. It is 2:30 on the west coast of North America here at our HQ. So for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, thank you so much. And you probably are wondering what this is. This is Star Trek Lost Stars, a 4X strategy, turn-based strategy game that we and a bunch of our friends play here online. We use a system called Federation and Empire on a platform called Vassal and play it over the internet, sharing that experience with you here today. This show is all about documenting our journey as the Klingon faction Empire in this game, moving forward, exploring new space, expanding our borders, exploiting our resources, and exterminating our enemies as we come across them. If this is something that is of interest to you and you want to see more, then please feel free to hit the follow button, subscribe if you'd like to, and give us some chit-chat in the chat to let us know that you are liking what we're doing and want to let us know what you want to find out more about. So here today we are, as the headline has said, conflict in the neutral zone. Is it time to go hunting for some birds? We'll see. Coming up in our session today, this is what we're talking about. Conflict in the neutral zone, turn 87. But before we get going, once again, this is going to be a specific nuts and bolts kind of chit-chat, and it will be a tactical session. So in order for it to be a tactical session, let's go to Red Alert. Let's do a quick recap of where we are in this turn, what's happened so far, and why we need to be sort of a little bit more on edge. And we'll discuss the communications that have gone back and forth around it. So just a quick check of the chat. If you've seen things are heating up here over on YouTube, and if you're here joining us on Twitch, as you can see, you're ready to get into it, feel free to put your 2 cents in the chat and let us hear back from you. Let's head over to our turns. Hi there from the corner. You can see here is a map. So we're going to do a quick little bit-by-bit turn progression here. This is the end of turn 85. 85 was essentially where we left off last time as our last map that we saw. I'm zoomed out to this scale just so you can see kind of the big scope things here. And as I scroll down, you can see that we've got our border with the Federation, the border with the Paravians, or we'll call them the birds. So we got big blue in the bottom, big red in the top, and then the Huns in the center. So the Huns, again, making reference to the fact that the Paravians, this is the faction in the middle, is styling themselves after the Mongols of the Hun era. Hence, we're calling them the Huns. And this is kind of what's going on down here. Now, I'm just going to do a quick little progression here. This is turn 85. You will see turn 86. And it'll be followed up by turn 87. So let's just do a quick bounce between them. You can see a little bit of a change happening along the border here. And so let's start with turn 86. So, quick recap just along the border here. As we had before in our last time, the Lyrans had established or discovered this planet right here, which was a Lyran faction. Lyran being just one of the factions of the races in the game. And so this was a minor faction that had existed in the game. As you can see here, when the planet was first discovered, you saw like a neutral zone around it, and now the neutral zone is gone. What's ended up happening here effectively is through a piece of role play, the Paravians have basically vassalized these different minor empires. So you see the Borak over in the corner here, in the top left corner of their space, and then the top right corner is the Lyrans. Effectively, what's happened here again, role play has vassalized them, and there is some kind of an arrangement or an agreement whereby a certain amount of EP is donated / paid in tax, if you want to call it that, to the Paravians. The various minor factions are able to maintain their fleets. Normally, those, when they incorporate into your empire, they disappear. So they're basically maintaining their own national fleets, and they shall be, or they can be called up to defend the Praevians if and when that's required. Just monitoring the chat here on, a little plugged in here, just monitoring the chat here on my phone. So if you are looking to chat on Twitch, feel free to do so. And yeah, that's how I'm monitoring the chat today. You can see here along the border as we zoom in, there is a sort of a competition, we'll call it, of exploration along the neutral zone. So you can see that there is this exploration freighter in India 22. This is going to be important in a sec here. So this exploration freighter, unarmed exploration freighter in the neutral zone. You have a military unit. This is the Dreadnought, which when embarked with a prime team has very basically the equivalent ability to discover new hexes as the exploration freighter. And then you can see here there is a YSR, which is a survey cruiser, Y-era survey cruiser, and its escort frigate with the Praevians here. And then you've got a cruiser with a similar prime team. So they're trying to do effectively the same type of thing that we're doing. Now, what ended up happening over a short sort of quick progression was that, just as a quick recap as far as how things progress in a turn, there is initiative. Initiative is based on the lowest economy going up to the biggest economy, so the lowest number to the highest number. And if we do a quick survey here, you will see that out of all the factions here, the Praevians are at 51, meaning they make, so numerator, denominator, take away 0, you've got 51 EP being generated. So the Praevians have an income of 51, the Tholians are 50.5. So Tholians go first, Praevians go second, then the Borak at 57, the Klingons at 59.5, and the Federation at 62. Interesting. I'm going to have to make note of that. So what this means effectively is that the what this means effectively is that the Praevians go before the Klingons do. So what the Praevians go before the Klingons means that they move first. So quick recap of what's happened here. And I'll just switch over to this perspective as I pull up the email. So what had happened was a Praevian ships had moved into India 22. That is the hex where that exploration freighter was in. So when I got the initial email, and that's usually how this works, I'll get an email indicating that there's a battle, and then it's got to get resolved. So the initial encounter was an exploration cruiser, the YSR, and a frigate, the YFF, go into the hex India 22. And so what that means is that as soon as they go into that hex, a battle starts. When two opposing factions go into a same hex, there is a battle. And when that battle initiates, there's a couple of different resolutions. One, if they choose to shoot, which is, you can choose not to shoot effectively. But as soon as the ships come into the hex, then one faction has to retreat. And if they choose not to retreat, there's a fight. So in this case, the question was, because the freighter is unarmed and has no attack capability, the question went to from the GM to the Praevians, do you want to shoot? So Athos says that with her talking about the vassalization of those minor factions, Athos being the Praevians, he says we prefer the term tribute, which is interesting. So again, just to recap here. So the Praevians go into the hex where the Klingons are already at. That instigates a battle. The exchange is from the Game Master said the Praevian, YSR, and YFF chase off the Klingon YFES, the exploration freighter, which retreats to Hotel 21 unless the Praevians want to destroy it. The response from the Praevians was negative. We won't even chase off the vessel at all if it is in the neutral zone. To which you're not allowed to do that, co-stacking ships unless you're in an alliance or special cases like diplomatic ships at homeworlds. So, so then the question is, what happens? Well, in this case, the Paravians withdrew from the hex. So they withdrew from the hex, which is strange, because then the next email I get is what he calls the game master calls Battle India 22 Part 2. And so in this hex, you have the Klingons with their C4, which is the Dreadnought, and 3 destroyer-type ships, the F4s. And then the Paravians have their YSR and the YFF. So what was the resolution? Klingons withdrew, sorry, the Paravians withdrew out of the hex. So here's the sort of the question, the sticking point, the issue. If we go back to the map, here, you will see that very clearly the Klingon ship is already in the hex doing the exploration, which means the Paravians had to actively move into that hex, which they did. They actively moved into that hex to sort of confront that exploration freighter. Now, the choice was to shoot and fight or back off. And so they chose to back off, which is really good, because otherwise we'd be at the very beginning stages of a fight, potentially. And what I had seen when I saw this sort of distribution of ships, there was very likely going to be a potential for conflict. So instead of, basically I switched roles here. I moved the YFES up and the C4 down. Now, 2 reasons why I did this. One, because there's the potential for a fight, and I just want to make sure that, we're making sure there's not a one-sided fight in this regard. Like, he's not going to walk in, blow at the freighter, and that would be bad. But also, as a way to kind of promote and making sure that there's not missing anything, I move the ship into, I move ships around to be able to instigate the new roles or prompt the GM to make sure that he moves it into the hex and then knows he has to roll the exploration roll. I do this because there's a lot to be processed in this game during these turns, and sometimes being pressed for time, there have been occasions in the past where things get missed, so you have to sort of check and verify that everything's been done. There's certain things you can't necessarily verify, so you try and create as many sort of positive reinforcing activities within the turn to try and encourage nothing to get dropped. So that's another reason why I personally do that. So that occurred. And so essentially I swapped these 2 units. So what ended up happening was the Paravian ships move into the hex, then he moves out, I move ships in, and the only thing I can think of is that there was something in the Paravian standing orders that he would move ships into the neutral zone, which he did, which was into my ship, or like into the C4 with the 3 destroyers. And then he chose to withdraw after that. So, kind of a hot mess of sort of moving ships around. And as a consequence, there was a little bit of an email exchange, trying to figure out, what's going on here, what's going on. The initial email exchange was from the Paravians to us. So the character in charge in this area, his name is Colonel Kempek. You might remember that name from Star Trek. Kempek, anyway. And so this is the message to the Colonel. Colonel, first, we would like to announce revisions to our communication software in its translation of the Klingon standard. We were not aware of extra characters that were being added due to our speech sibilance. So basically, because they have a lisp, for lack of a better way to describe it, he was writing on the emails with an extra S. He removed that to make sure that it was a little bit easier to write and read. So I'll hold on. I got a message from Athos here. I'll read it in a sec. From this point forward, our messages will be easier to read. We wish to express regret for the confusion over our collaborative exploration of the neutral zone. We retreated from one sector. You retreated from the other. Neither of us found anything when the sectors were charted and no weapons were fired, so we feel that symmetry has been maintained. So a little bit of confusion there. This is all with regards to one sector. It's all with regards to that one hex, India 22, or sorry, 21. Am I getting it wrong? I think I'm getting it wrong. India 22, right. So it's all about India 22. So then I respond, keeping in mind, okay, Klingon, the sort of the Klingon character and personality here and what's going on. So we'll talk about this in a sec as far as the greater strategic map of conflict on the map right now. But this was the message I responded to. So message to the character that I was speaking to, Stone Feather is the name of the character. So I respond, I must admit my confusion over the recent navigational conflicts within your neutral zone based on the navigational data and the incident and intergalactic rules of navigation. It seems unusual for combat-capable vessels of the Horde to enter a sector of space where unarmed exploration vessels of the Klingon Empire are operating. So this refers to the fact that my ship was already there first, and then he moved ships in there, knowing that he has initiative and there's no realistic way that would have changed in one turn. For him to move ships into that hex was provocative. And so why was he doing that? Fortunately, no harm has resulted with this navigational error, and we have avoided any cause for conflict. Considering the current contingent of Klingon and Horde vessels operating in the area, talking about the different ships that are kind of in that area along the neutral zone, I'm sure we can agree to work together and that no further errors should be expected. It is my hope that we can agree that maintaining transparent communication between us will go a long way in avoiding any future errors and continue to enhance our mutually beneficial relationship. In that spirit, the Klingon Empire will be enhancing its infrastructure along the shared border region to increase trade capacity and our supply network. So basically just building bases along the border. Based on the recent appearance of a gravitational anomaly originating in Federation space, there will be a significant increase of Klingon military assets in the area in the coming years. I look forward to our continued and clear communication as we work to maintain and enhance our collaborative relationship. So basically just kind of like defining the box in the sense of like, okay, we had a little bit of a mishap there, no harm, no foul, but based on where all the ships are and who's exploring what, there's really no expectation that that should occur again, and that will continue to be, maintain that clear communication stuff. But again, that first line meaning like, why did you do that? Because there's no reason for that to have occurred. It was effectively either a mistake or a provocative action. Why did that happen? And because he backed away, it would indicate a mistake, but kind of a careless mistake in the sense that could have easily been avoided. Just curious. Now, the response from him was, Colonel Kempek, our cruisers and escorts are doing exactly the same thing as your C4 dreadnoughts and escorts. No dispute there. The cruisers carry a mission specialist team and is used to survey duties just as the C4 is, and the escorts are to hold off any unknown threat and allow escape of the more valuable unit. Our two governments are doing nothing differently from each other, save the size of the units that we are using. Again, no blood, no report, and neither of us found anything in those two sectors, so there is no talon of contention that shall linger. As to the Federation, we have offered them a route home, should you choose to allow them to withdraw, but not allow them to repair and transit via wormhole Foxtrot. So, effectively, this message is saying we're doing the same thing, and that's absolutely correct. It's just a matter of like, again, you're choosing to move into hexes that we're already occupying, which does two things. One, if you're already exploring the hex, it disrupts that exploration. So if you move into a hex and you react into that hex, or there's some kind of movement from another faction into that hex, then what ends up happening is it disrupts the exploration role, meaning you can't explore the hex. And then, of course, it being provocative that you're moving ships that have offensive firepower into a hex with a ship that does not have offensive firepower, it's sort of provocative, even though in this case he backed off. So with that all being said, let's go to his comments. So he says, I withdrew from the hex when the freighter was there. Looks like the GM forgot to move the counters. No harm, definitely foul. Ha ha ha. So foul spent F-O-W-L. I think he meant to say F-O-U-L, which is how you spell foul. Let me just do a quick little spell check on that. I'm pretty sure foul is Offensive, wicked, or immoral. Oh, no, it looks like I'm wrong. Yeah, foul with a W is the birds. Sorry, foul being F-O-U-L is something bad to smell. But F-O-W-L, which is how he spelt it, was definitely the bird reference. So he just says, bad pun. Absolutely. My error was thinking that non-belligerents were allowed to co-occupy the hex. So it was just a rules in that context. What he's describing there is sort of a rules confusion piece around whether non-combat ships were allowed in the same rule, same hex, even though you're not technically at war. Okay. So we'll see that and we'll just kind of move forward here. So as you can see on the map, this is what we're talking about. Again, this particular hex, if he moves first, he moves these ships into this hex, which then forces this ship to back off. Now he moved his ships back, so then the C4 and its ships moved into this hex and was able to explore it, as you will see here. So we'll just zoom in, and this is what the map looks like at the beginning of this turn. The C4 is here, explored, and we'll just move the ships for a sec, explored that hex. This hex is still not explored, and so on. So a couple key things between, we'll just zoom out one more, between this map and this map. So this is still turn 86. The next one is 87. So quick little recap here. You'll notice that the establishment of this border zone that's now existing between Big Red and the Horde. So Big Red is just establishing a border with the Horde. This kind of lines up with what the Paravians had previously established as sort of their outline for border region, which ties in. And with the exception of the fact that as we zoom out here, you'll see that it's got this kind of diamond or like this pointy end on that side. That's because, of course, there's a faction missing here because a player is missing. And so they're kind of moving out in that direction. You'll also notice a couple things. One, 2 turns ago, we had asked permission from the feds to move ships down into their space to explore 2 of their gravity wells. There's a gravity well here. Oh, of course, my face is in the way. Stand by. Let's move me over. There we go. So you will see that there is a gravity well here. You can see that there. And there's a gravity well down here. So they're one-way doors, right? Those are indoors, not outdoors. So we're trying to go through them to figure out where they're going to show up on the other end. The feds have not explored them yet, and so they were going to pop up somewhere. So this one is G, and this one is N. So Golf and November. Just to iterate that, or reiterate that, you can see there's a little G right there and the little N. And then so when they went through this, it popped up over here. So that's the exit point for this entrance to the gravity well, one-way wormhole. And you can see that there is a YCA and a YDD that went through that hole. Now, as we go to turn 87, you'll see they did the same thing for that other wormhole, November, and a destroyer and a frigate came through. And they just happen to pop up right in the border area right here. Now, because that is there, there's 2 things about that hole. 2 things about that hole. One, that wormholes can change. So it could be a one-way gravity well today. It could be a 2-way wormhole tomorrow. Or it could disappear completely. Now, regardless of that, they can always send ships through. Right now, as would be indicated by both the previous turn and this turn, the Federation does not have the technology, because it is a specific technology in this game, to be able to transit a wormhole without being crippled. Based on the evidence, it would indicate that that's not going to be a huge threat in the short term, but in the long term it will be, because depending on how that wormhole changes, that could be an issue. So from a defensive perspective, that's going to be an issue, because he can just throw ships into that area, and that could cause all sorts of issues and problems from a logistical perspective. In addition, if that were to change into a 2-way wormhole, and if it did, depending on when it did, that could be a huge strategic advantage, in the sense that we would then have, being fully fleshed out that tech tree, we would have the ability to be able to go through that wormhole, and their homeworld is right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be within 4 hexes of their wormhole. Or sorry, the wormhole is within 4 hexes of their home world, which would be a distinct advantage. So, something to think about. Now, let's do it just a little quick. Going back to turn 85 real quick, or sorry, 86 real quick. Let's do a quick recap of the economic points. You can see here real quick that the Borak are at 57, the Federation 62, the Klingons are at 59.5, the Pravians are 51, and the Tholians 50.5. Quick look at the fleet cap. You can see that the Federation have a total number of ships of 97 with a 416 fleet cap. As that relates to us, we have a total of 75 ships with a 293. You can see the Pravians holding steady at 48, the Tholians at 86, and the Borak at 54. Now, let's go to the current turn, which is 87. Let's do a quick look at fleet cap again. You can see that the Federation maintains 97. So that would indicate to me that the 416 is most likely their total fleet cap, meaning that that is what their economy can support. Klingons are now up to a total of 81 ships with a fleet cap of 315. Tholians are at 88. Pravians maintaining strong at 48. And you can see the Borak are at 54. There's another, like a series of other factions that have sort of been included here. Those are just minor factions that are popping up. But the big ones that we need to worry about, Borak, the Borak, the Federation, Pravians, and the Tholians. So 2 top, 2 bottom, and then us in the middle. Burping. All right, quick look at EP. We are sitting currently at the Borak are at 57. So they've been holding steady at 57 for some time. The Federation are at 62. The Klingons are at 60.5. The Pravians are at 52. And the Tholians at 50.5. So again, the split is, I would say, exaggerating a little bit more in the sense of like the folks at the top are creeping up a little bit, and the folks at the bottom aren't creeping up as much. Although, you know, the Pravians gained a point, Klingons gained a point, and so on and so forth. So that's how that's evolving. Quick little, we'll zoom in on the Federation border and just show you something that has changed that is significant. So we're going to go quickly down to the previous turn, which was 86, and I'll show you what it looks like there versus what it looks like now. So this is the border in the south with the Federation. Now, this is a really important thing to look at because this is kind of where things get exciting. As you will notice very clearly and easily, we have our wormhole, 2 YBSs, very minimal, like really minimal ships here. No significant offensive capability from the Klingons at all. Let's look at the Fed side. So the Federation has a number of these, basically these Corvette-style ships. So basically weak frigates. They got one on each of these YBSs along here, and there's 2 of them here and 2 of them here. Now, look at Third Fleet. In turn 86, there are 6 light cruisers, 3 of these corvettes, and this OCA. So the OCA is important because it is a command ship. Obviously, it's a little bit more significant firepower-wise. It's a 7-8 ship. And basically, there's a total of 7 ships here in Third Fleet. No harm, no foul. But I mean, enough that if they wanted to, 1, 2, 3, 4, they could pop this base with that fleet, no problem. Let's take a quick look at Second Fleet. Second Fleet, a little more significant. You have 2 cruisers, 1 old, 1 new. Again, 3 light cruisers from the M era, 3 light cruisers from the Y era. You have 2 Y destroyers, 3 Y frigates, and then 3 of these Corvette-style ships. So as far as total number of ships, you've got 3, 5, 8, 6 makes 14, So you got a total of 16 ships here, and the offensive firepower is not insignificant. So let's just do something we can look up in our what's called compot. So this is a table that'll populate, and it'll show us the total offensive and defensive firepower, different sort of fleets and ships. So this is the Federation's second fleet. So that's this fleet right here. I'll move this over so it's a little bit easier to see. So I know it's hard to see, but at the end of the day, there are 16 ships in Second Fleet, and there are 53 attack factors, 72 defense factors. If we go to the Third Fed Fleet, there are a total of 10 ships there with 43, 47. So this is a really important thing just for now for our contrast to look at. You've got 16 and 10 ships respectively, 53 and 43 attack factors. Those are the two numbers to remember. As we move over to the next turn, we're going to zoom in. Okay. We're going to look at compots. Now, their fleet cap hadn't changed significantly, right? Which means that they haven't built any new ships. They've just redistributed their ships. So a whole bunch of Borak new fleets that have shown up. That's interesting. So Fed Second Fleet still has 16 ships, still at 53. So they haven't changed. Third Fleet is now 20 ships and 8397. So he added 10 ships to that fleet and bumped up the offensive firepower by 40, effectively doubling the offensive firepower of that fleet. Now, what's in that fleet? Is it just a bunch of old ships? Nope. It is now 9 light cruisers, 6 frigates, as well as the 3 corvettes from before, and now not 1 but 2 OCAs. So, the previous turn, before he moved those ships there, I had thought it would be important to fortify that border to a certain degree and provide a visible deterrent, just so that we weren't inviting a conflict, like easy targets that could just, reach in there and take. So you will see that in the previous turn, and I'll just get rid of these so you can't, there we go. So in the previous turn, no military units on this side. Next turn, substantially more. We've placed 2 E4Ms on each YBS, so that increases the firepower there by, or at least the attack factors by an additional, so I mean, it was a 4-8, now it's a 12-14. So we've increased the firepower by 200% on each of those hard points. Plus, we have 2 of the E4Ms, which are more than equal than the corvettes that would be facing it. Also, we've established Green Fleet here. So let's just take a quick look at Green Fleet. Klingon, here we go. So Klingon, under the Martok tab, you'll see Green Fleet. So we have a C4B, which is a dreadnought, so it can command up to 10 ships. You have another cruiser there as well, a D6M, so that kind of counterbalances the OCA that was originally there. And then we have a total of 7 E4Ms. So 7 E4Ms on this spot right here, and then these ships. Again, even with the ships that were there before, he had 10 ships in Third Fleet. This is only, that would be 7, 8, 9. So we've only got 9 ships. So comparable in number, probably similar in attack factor. Let's do a quick look at what the Green Fleet compot is, and we'll show you what the comparison would have been. So if we go down here to Green Fleet is 9 ships. It has a 43-36. So the 43 attack factor is equivalent to what was there before from the Fed side. So we've effectively brought an equivalent fleet to that spot to what was there before. But as we've seen, the Federation have now doubled the number of ships there. Interesting, huh? So, quick recap from the macro, we know from the fleet caps that the Federation has the highest number of ships at 97. They also have the largest fleet when it comes to compot or combat potential. They have the largest fleet with numbers and the largest offensive firepower capability of any faction. Their offensive capability exceeds the defensive capability of every other faction, period. So the fact that they're moving that many ships to the front with us is significant. Now, one of the sort of the good things on our side is that they lack the ability, at this point, they lack the ability to be able to transit that wormhole without being crippled. So it is unlikely, not impossible, but extremely unlikely that they would attack and be able to transit that wormhole with any success to be able to attack us on the other side. Not impossible, but it's unlikely. Also, they would be unable to supply their ships on the other side. So if they were able to go through in one go, then they would have to basically, it's all or nothing. They'd have to go through and completely take the target on the other side, i.e. the homeworld. They'd have to take it in one turn. Otherwise, they're toast. Even though it would be highly disruptive regardless. So that's an interesting sort of distribution, and we'll see how that evolves over the next turn. We'll see how things evolve. So let's just zoom out here, and I'll show you a couple of the little key things. So as we talked about, we had the issue along the border with the Praevians. We have the sort of evolving tensions, we'll call it, along the Federation border. As you can see in the top right corner, we have our ongoing fight with the ISC faction, this like independent group of folks up here. So you'll see we have a number of crippled ships. Here we have a total of 12 crippled ships that have been crippled based on previous combat. The YDK that is being completed there will be completed this turn. So at the sort of beginning of turn 87, that YDock will be complete, and so it'll be able to repair ships. 109. Let me just quickly double check. 109. Oh, sorry. It's not this turn. It'll be next turn. So this is the 87 turn. So we'll put in our calculations or like our spending for this turn. It'll be the beginning of next turn that it will be available to repair ships. So there'll be a wave of an attack this turn, and then next turn they'll be able to recover and repair. So right now we have the fleet that's here, which is new fleet. And then we have some ships here which are going to get repaired. We also have ships over here at this YDock that are going to be repaired. There's 7 of them, so all 7 can be repaired in one turn. And then you can see here in the ISC home fleet, where are you, ISC? So in the ISC home fleet, you can see that we're doing some significant damage. They have a total of 12 Y planetary ground bases still in effect. They have their YDock, which is still fully operational. And then, but we've crippled almost every other fleet ship that they have. So they can repair a total of 8 points of damage. These specific units, these YFFs, will take 2 points of damage to repair. So they can only, and I'll just verify that in real time here for you. So this is one of them. If we flip it, it goes from a 1 to a 3. That's 2 points to repair, right? So if it takes 2 points to repair, and he can only repair 4, that means he can, he can only repair 8 total points of damage. That means he can repair 4 of those frigates. So in the next battle, and this minor faction will have initiative on us, meaning they'll go first, it'll be a cruiser, 4 uncrippled YFFs, plus all the crippled ships, and then their planetary ground bases and so on. So what does that mean? That effectively means they're going to have a 4 ships at 2 attack and 3 defense. So that'll be, that'll be a total of 8, plus the YCA is 4, so that's 12. 12 plus the 8 attack factors of the YDock brings a total to 20, and then you add the 12 from the YBGs, YPGs. Then that'll be 12 plus 20 is 32. So they'll have a total of 32 attack factor, and then, of course, the EW shift. So it's significant. However, our fleet, new fleet, not including the additions of the repairs that will be going into that, where are we here? New fleet. So our new fleet will have, just off the top, they will have a total of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they'll have a total of 9 frigates going into this fight, and then these 4 other ships. So the command ships with an 8 and 3 of those D6s. The D6s provide 21 attack and defense, plus the 8 from the C4B means that it's a 29 attack and defense before we include the frigates, and that's 4 ships. So we can put in another 7. So we put in another 7 of these guys is 24, 28. So there'll be another 28 attack factors on top of the 29, which gives us 57 attack factors going into that fight. Now, we won't be able to survive very long, but we'll be able to put in 57 offensive firepower to their 30. Now, even with the EW shift, and it's significant that they have, that won't make enough of a difference to avoid them losing a significant number of their ships and or losing planetary ground bases, their choice. Effectively, what's happening here is a war of attrition, in the sense that we are doing so much damage to them that they can't repair out of it. So we are grinding them down bit by bit by bit. And we're allowing that battle process to, I mean, we're slowly making progress to win. And we would have won this earlier, except that all of a sudden there are these competing factors that we need to start thinking about. The issues with the Federation border and other things that are coming up. So we can't dedicate all our focused attention on this particular minor faction. And then, of course, there is the added benefit that while we're attacking this minor faction, it keeps us at limited war status. Now, we're not trying to milk it intentionally. It's just a matter of we're applying enough resources to continue to make progress in attacking this faction. It just happens that this minor faction is quite powerful. Like, they were quite significant when they started on the board, and they just happened to be hostile against us. So sort of by a happy set of circumstances, so to speak, we started a fight here. Rather, they started a fight here that we are happy to finish. It's just taking us a while to finish it, but it's to our benefit to not finish it quickly and just kind of let it ride out. We're continuing to make progress, which is good, and we will win this fight most likely within a year or two, or sorry, within a turn or two. Not this turn, but once that YDK is fully operational and we're able to throw back a full 8 fresh ships every turn, we'll decimate that target within 2 turns, especially based on what's going on. So I would forecast that within 2 to 3 turns, this fight will be over. But again, we can benefit from the increased economic activity while that's going on. And then lastly, let's talk about Big Red. So here, I'll switch sides. So you can see Big Red here. There's two sides of this coin, 2 things to think about when it comes to Big Red. The first is this evolving border area that we have here. So we've explored all the way up here. We'll be building a base here shortly. And we're going to explore, try to do our best to explore all this space, just as he's trying to do the same thing, right? We're just trying to explore this space as much as we can, and open it up and try and get any sort of like little resources in the border area as much as we can. So doing that to the best of our ability. Also opening up the supply network or the supply chain so that we can populate bases, populate units in these various spaces, and that's good. You can see that there is not a huge fleet disposition along the border with us, which is good in the sense it's non-threatening. You can see that he's got a total of 4 of these Y patrol craft here. The CPC is kind of like you put 3 of them together, it's the equivalent of a tug. So when he has 3 of these CPCs together, they are kind of like our E1Ts. And so when you put them together, they can do things like build a base, like this one is doing up here. You can see that the 3 CPCs are in the midst of building a base, and so the total of attack factors here is 5 attack factors, 12 defense factors. Sorry, it's 4.5 and 1.5, but it's so it's technically 6 attack factor, 12 defense factor, and they're building bases. So they're building a base here. These guys will build a base here, and these guys will be building a base, I'm sure, shortly, probably here in Charlie 13. That would be my expectation. And then, of course, you can see that they've explored and discovered a planet here. And the Big Red's actually done very well in this regard, sort of roll by chance. You can see that they have a planet discovered here, a planet discovered here, and a planet discovered here. So there's been this interesting combination of events, 1, 2, 3. Then the other factor to think about as we zoom in is the wormhole. So you can see here on the edge, they've got on the wormhole proper, they have a YC, so a Y-era cruiser at a 3.6, and then they have three of the patrol craft at 1.5, 3 each. So not a significant force in the sense of significant that they would go through the wormhole and try to attack us, but not insignificant in the sense that we wouldn't necessarily be able to go through that wormhole and just show up on the other side without opposition. They've also got a base station there, so, just giving it the capability to stop people going through. And on the top there, you can see the YCOM. That is a commercial convoy as per the commercial convoy agreement that we have. And we are conducting trade. We are conducting trade with the Tholians. And next turn, or during the course of 87, going into 88, that convoy will show up through the wormhole and reach our Y dock. So that's good. Looking good. When it comes to our military distribution of forces, we still have home fleet based on that hex, enough to be able to deter an attack, not a significant force enough to be able to attack them, but again, enough of a deterrent that will prevent somebody from just walking through and causing havoc on the other side. And one other thing to note on this turn. You'll note that the Green Fleet has a C4B in it. Where did that C4B come from? There had been a colony ship that the C4 had been escorting from this area over to this particular colony. And once it had, this was a resource, so it had populated it into a colony and then moved north to get upgraded. So that's what happened there. Speaking of colony ships, we've discovered a new colony ship right here, you can see. And so this tug, the T4, will be taking that colony ship in tow and then moving with it to the nearest resource. So one of the things to think about with the resources and the colonies is that it's a, and I'll pull up the, let me just switch screens here temporarily. The colony ships are able to transform resources into colony, and then the colony has the ability to grow and eventually turn into other ships. So when it comes to the economic growth, and I'll just share this screen. Hold on, let me get rid of a few things. This screen, and let me just swap over here. So you can see here, and I'll just zoom in so it's a little bit easier to see. So you can see when I'll do one more, make it a little bit easier. Yeah. So a resource, as you can see here, has no ability to grow. But once you put a colony ship on a resource, it'll turn it into a colony. And then what you need to see is the 0 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9. It's the range of the planet from the original homeworld that will determine its ability to grow. 3 is the first threshold. 6 is the second, and so on. So basically 4 to 6, 0 to 3. That's where we're looking. Let's go back to the map. So you can see, let me just pull away all the bases in the ship so it's easier to see. This is our homeworld. 3 hexes at 1, 2, 3. Nothing down there. Nothing down here. Nothing down here. Nothing down here. So we've basically either have converted or already have planets and our colonies within the 3-point hex. So the next is the 4. 4 to 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to 6. So 4, nothing there. 4, nothing there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so this is a good spot, potentially. And then as we go around, go around, go around. So these are within the 6 hex radius. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are in the 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So these, and this one's at 4. Now there's no difference. There's no advantage to go 4 versus 5 versus 6. There's no significant difference there. But the thing I would illustrate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this could be a planet as well. The issue here is it's a combination of the distance, but also its sort of position. If you put planets close to the border, then obviously there is the potential that your opponent could reach across the border in a conflict and take the planet from you. So arguably, you want to put all your HVU high-value resources behind or in the most defensible position possible. So arguably, the best position for any of these guys or any sort of resource that we want to develop to be would be within the 4, because we've already developed all the 0 to 3s. We want to develop something that's between 4 and 6, and it's as much in our quote-unquote backyard as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be this here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This guy here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This guy here. 1, 2, yeah, okay, so 6, 6, 6. So these guys are probably our best candidates, with this being another potential option. Now, why would you prefer these to this? Because even these ones are within a distance, like a strategic distance from the border with the Paravians, and these guys are so far in the back that there's no way, barring a wormhole, that anybody's going to get to them. So arguably, this is the most secure spot for this particular planet. Also, the fact that you've got a planet here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it's just outside. Oh, bugger. So these guys would be equivalent growth potential. And yeah, so that's probably the best position for that colony ship to go and populate anything. So that's where we're at. Now, that takes us to about just shy of an hour here with regards to this particular episode. Key thing to note for the coming weekend. So here, this is a 3-day weekend where I'm at. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday are the holidays. And so for today, what's going to end up happening is later this evening, I will be coming on at around 8 to 8:30. And the time is a little fuzzy just because of sort of some other family commitments. But somewhere between 8 and 8:30, I'll be coming online again, and we'll be doing a little bit of not a tactical session, but we're going to be talking about strategy. We're going to be talking about the current environment in which we find ourselves, and there is even the potential of getting a turn back at some point today. So by the time I go live at around 8 to 8:30 today, in the PM, that's Pacific time, so 8:30 PM would be the latest by which we would go live, then you would see potentially an update on the turn. Also tomorrow being Sunday, we'll be going live during the day. Please check the Twitch channel. I'll be updating. I realized, and I apologize for this, I realized that I had updated, a couple weeks back, I had updated the stream schedule with regards to when we were going live during that week, and then I hadn't changed it back. So I deeply apologize. I kind of left that unattended, and so there's been misinformation up there for some time. I will fix that shortly after this live stream, and I'll update it with the updated schedule for streams over the course of the next 3 days. And so you can see that on Twitch, twitch.com/bbscotian, or you can find us on the YouTube channel at just do a quick search for Lost Stars, Star Trek Lost Stars on YouTube. You can also find us at Patreon, patreon.com/Lost Stars. So we'll be doing a live stream later this evening talking about the sort of war potential strategy, what we're going to be thinking going forward. And over the next couple days, as we get some turns in, it'll either be tonight or tomorrow. We'll most likely get a turn, and I will be following up with you all here with regards to what we are seeing, what's developing, and what's going on. When it comes to the specific conversation about whether we should go bird hunting or not, That'll be something we'll discuss over the next couple days, as well as Big Blue and Big Red, and what's going on between those two, and that sort of border tension that's going on right now. There's a lot to be forecast as far as up to now, we haven't really had any really good potential points of conflict that would drive any particular faction to go to war, but that's starting to change. And so we'll discuss those various factions, those various issues, those various points of tension, and describe how this game potentially will evolve in the next couple of turns. So with that being said, if you have enjoyed what you've been watching so far, then please feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button, give us a follow over on Twitch, and if you are so inclined, please feel free to hit the subscribe button over on YouTube. Really enjoying having you here. Hopefully you're enjoying this content. Feel free to plug away in the comments and let us know what works for you when it comes to things that you like, things you don't like, and things you want to see more of. The turns are starting to get exciting, so please, hit that bell icon on YouTube to let you know that you'll get notified as new turns are coming and as the new breaking news events will be evolving over the next couple weeks. Certainly, the month of August is going to be a month of action because I, again, foresee some things changing in the next little while. You can already see it building up on the border with the Federation. Already there's a little bit of tension, at least at this point, with the Praevians. And with our sort of, not bumping into, but the exploration of the border with the Tholians, there's a lot of potential for something to happen there. And lastly, I'll leave it with this little nugget. Let me zoom out and share with you this piece here. So we go down to the Borak. This is, again, the Batman faction, Battletech, the faction being run by the Game Master. Let me illustrate what's going on here. Now, we already knew from before that this faction was exploring this particular area of space and was coming up onto the border with the Praevians. We can tell by the fact that this border all of a sudden popped out of nowhere that they've come to an arrangement with the Borak faction to indicate that they have a border agreement. You can see that there is, from the Borak perspective, they have ships and bases that are being built in this area quickly, and they've got this sort of trident approach of exploration, which I think is amusing, but they are aggressively going after the exploration up to and including this border region, and it would seem that there is sort of a northeasterly push, of course, from your perspective, northeasterly push into sort of a territorial limit, which will include and involve the Federation. If you want to call this Charlie line, Charlie column right here is the median, sort of the Greenwich Mean Time line in the middle. They'll be crossing that line and already have and be moving up into the northeast direction to be able to create a point of contact, shall we say, with the Federation. So between them expanding in that direction, exploring the border along with the Praevians, as well as the Federation doing much of the same, and the Tholians doing that, there's going to be an increasing amount of potential for tension, an increasing amount of potential for conflict, and it is very likely in the short number of turns to follow, I say less than 10, that something exciting is going to happen. Who is going to go to war with whom? No idea. I doubt it'll be the Klingons, to be fair, even though we're the warlike race. I doubt that we're going to be the ones that are going to be starting a particular fight. But there is the potential for, as it seems here, different factions are kind of nudging up against each other and kind of pushing things in a certain direction. So we'll see how that goes. So like I say, hit that subscribe button with the bell icon for the notifications on YouTube to be up to date and follow along with what's going on here on Star Trek Lost Stars. If you're with us here on Twitch, then thank you so much for joining us. Again, hit the follow button. Just let us know that you are liking what we're doing in the comments or don't like what we're doing, and let us know how we can fix it and or give you what it is you want to know. Do you enjoy the tactical sessions? Yes or no? Do you enjoy this kind of map layout? Yes or no? Do you prefer when I just talk like this? And do you also like those video featurettes, which I totally appreciate? I've been kind of dropping the ball on recently. I'll start pumping out a few more of those for your entertainment value in the days to come. If you don't see those on Twitch, that's because they're all over on the YouTube channel. And if you haven't checked that out, then please feel free to hit the head over to YouTube. Check us out at Star Trek Lost Stars over on YouTube, and you can find us there, as well as patreon.com/Lost Stars, and you can find us there as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure. I am looking forward to seeing you all in the next episode later today at approximately 8 to 8:30. We'll see how that goes. Pacific time again. So thank you so much. We'll see you later today. Bye for now.